Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of TFG Radio. As you can see and most likely hear, it's myself, Adam, once again. This week, however, we have, well, not however.
Oh, jeez, thanks, man.
We have
Jesus
Danny.
Christ. Hey. Wow, thanks, man.
And that's it. That's all we have. It's just me and Danny. So it'll probably be a short one. John is out gallivanting around, I don't know, and Tom is, he's wrangling his like 8 kids, so it's a busy weekend for all. So it's been a couple weeks. A few things have happened since those weeks. We've had the release of the pre-order, I should say, of the Ork and Custodes books. So we'll give our brief overview. We don't get an advanced copy, so we're just going off of what we've seen so far from other influencers that have put out content in regards to these books. We'll talk about the orcs first, because that seems to be the most positive. Danny, quick thoughts on the orcs in general?
I mean, I haven't seen points, so it's hard to tell, but they look to be in a good spot. You actually, which is I think the best part of the book, is seems to be some pretty good builds. Like if you're like me and actually like a lot of like mega knobs and stuff like that, they have a detachment that gives them a lot of tech and gives them a lot of pressure, because you get 2 wogs, so you get, a lot of pressure even with a smaller model count army.
Yeah.
You can run green, you can run the green tide, which I think you'll see a lot of, especially in team play, because having 100 plus models with a 5+ invulnerable save that are pretty good in fighting and have volume of fire too, like that's can be kind of a nightmare for a lot of other armies to deal with. Even the death dread, the dread mob, like that looks good.
Oh, the one with the hit the big button, or hit that big button.
Hit the button, which gives them a lot more killiness. And from what we've seen, like those models, dreads and even killicans, like are already pretty killy. So being able to up that even more is pretty good. So I think the orcs, I mean, if you're an orc player, I think you should be pretty happy, because this is a solid codex that has a lot of different play styles. The Beast Snagga one is like kind of cool if you really love Beast Snaggas, but it's pretty limited in what you're getting out of it. So, but the Cult of Speed is also really good. You can do a lot of fun pressure builds with that and zipping around. But yeah, I think orcs, depending on points, unless things are like massively overcosted, which I think we would have heard of by now if that was the case. I
don't think anybody's talked about points yet.
Yeah, I mean,
among the influencers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and points can change, right? The points in the codex isn't necessarily the points that are going to end up in match play with, how things go. But yeah, again, if I was an orc player, I would be pretty happy, especially if you're a really dedicated orc player. And let's be fair, there's a lot of dedicated orc players out there who have big collections. This is a really good book. Like, this gives you a lot of flexibility in what you like to play, and is, workable, right? I think it's, for me, I think it's on par with Tyranids, if not a little bit better. Of like, here's a book that has a lot of different play styles. There's a lot of good tricks. There's a lot of good kill. There's a lot of good board control, right? Like, you can really build the book, build lists out of this book to do what you want. So I could see, like I said, I think orcs will be really popular in the team format, because I think you can either build a very aggro attacker list that will catch a lot of other lists off guard if they're not prepared for it, or you can build a really hard defender list out of, like, especially the green tide, where it's just so many bodies to chew through.
Yeah, going over the ones, there's the, like you said, there's the green tide list, there's the basically the current index that you can take detachment, and that's basically the generic one that's in the new book. You're talking about the speed mob, which is the one with basically all the vehicles. There's the dread mob or dread wog, which is basically we used to be called canwall, when you have all the killer cans. That seems to be a growing popular one among the players that have seen the detachment so far. There's a couple other ones with, like you said, there's the Beast Snaggas specific one. So if you have a lot of those models, And most of you do if you started with orcs in 10th edition or end of 9th, and you got those that I think it was a combat patrol or was it the like special FOMO box?
They had a FOMO box.
I think it was the FOMO box.
But I think Beast Snaggers, are they in the combat patrol? I feel like they are. I feel like there's some.
I think they are, but I mean they were. But if you bought the 9th edition codex, the special edition one, I think that was the FOMO box.
Yeah, that was all
that
Beast
came with all
Snaggers.
the Beast Snaggers.
Yeah,
that was all the new models at the time. So if you have that, if you bought that, you already had like halfway through it. If you expanded on it, you probably have a Beast Snagga detachment army already. If you played 5th edition, you probably have a Canwall army, just gathering dust. But the new detachment seems pretty good from what we've seen so far. It's on. I think it's still on pre-order at the time of this recording. But by the time of BAO, it'll be legal for BAO. So and there'll be a few tournaments before there, so we'll see how it shakes out leading up to BAO. So that's the orcs. The book seems to be pretty good. And so now we'll go to the other end of that spectrum, apparently, with the Golden Boys or the Adeptus, or Golden Boys and Girls, I should say. The Adeptus.
The Golden
Custodes.
Folk. Golden Folk.
They seem to, over the course, they became an army in, was it 8th edition when they got their first book?
8th edition's when they came out.
Or first detachment, I think it was, with the Talons
of the
Emperor box.
Yep. I bought like 3 of those.
They've kind of been up and down. They've been super strong.
Yes.
For those that remember, and then they've been super weak.
Yep.
Especially in this latest edition. There's plenty of people out there that had go over in detail as to what happened with this new book or what's going to happen. Initial response is very tepid.
That's a polite way of saying it.
Well, you don't know. It's there might be that. So it might be like Adeptus, like Mechanicus,
right? Where
there's only like one build that really works, but it's an expensive build for Mechanicus.
Yep.
Because you have to buy all the. I think it's all the dragoons.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it's expensive if you want to get something that's competitive, and for some people consider it boring because it's only like the only option.
Right.
So maybe there's a build in there. I know there's a Sisters of Silence detachment. That's
not. I mean, they're doesn't seem
they're
very
still T3. They don't have very many units.
Yeah.
You can't really make an army out of it.
Yeah.
So, and then the other ones seem okay. We don't know for sure, but we assume they still get access to their Forge World stuff. Yeah. But if they do, I don't think the Forge World stuff's that good.
Aren't some of the Dreads, the Forge World Dreads characters? They used to be. I don't know.
I don't recall. I'd have to look. I'd have to look and see.
Yeah, I guess I can.
But you don't see a lot of them right now. Being played.
You sure don't.
At least in lists that do well. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see if there's any changes to points and to the rules for the Forge World stuff, because they're one of the few armies that has a lot of Forge World units that are still usable in match play that have not been put to Legends.
That is very true. Yeah, it looks like their Dreads are not. No, they're not characters. So, if their Dreads were actually the Auric champion detachment, would have been really, really good. Since
okay,
yeah, that would make them even kind of scarier.
Yeah. So I don't. With the new Combat Patrol and that new box set, I was thinking about getting the box just because it comes with that new character, the new chonky character that I kind of like.
Yeah, no,
with the spear with the Melta on it.
Yeah.
But I may just get them just to have because they're not that hard to paint.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I say that about a lot of armies, but I never do it. So
right.
It's basically just me talking out of my ass. But we'll see. You never know.
Same.
The other big thing about apparently the biggest thing, according to some, is the lore change in regards to who makes up the 10,000. So for those that don't know, if you don't follow the internet, they confirm that females or women can become custodes. So internet's in an uproar, just like they always are about something.
Yeah. I mean,
my personal stance is I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. And GW has said in the past, over the years, that the history of the Imperium is mutable for the most part.
yeah.
It's all true and none of it's true.
Yeah.
This is like they've officially said this, so it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, they do whatever, and it's their IP. They can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, I mean,
So
people forget that, like, I think it's Rogue Trader. There's even or maybe it's one of the early White Dwarfs, but there's like a call out to the all female Space Marine chapter. Um, like, and in the Imperium itself, there is an entire office dedicated to basically rewriting Imperial history to make it more palatable, right? So there's always been this built-in idea of there's lots of room for creativity. There's not like canon in the way other stories work of this is exactly what happened and this is the hard rules of the universe. And really, for me, it's one of those things of it has no impact on you unless you want it to, right? Like, if you're excited about, cool, I want, female custodes, I want to convert an army up, I want to do this, like, great, have fun. Unless that's you, how does it affect you? Why are you upset about something that really has no actual bearing on your life, right? No one's taking your models away. No one's making you necessarily play with models you don't want to play with. And if it really does bother you that this happened, my only advice is to seek therapy, because something's wrong with you, right? Like, I mean it, like, you're hurt inside, you're wounded, there's like, you're in pain and you need to take care of that pain, because this is not a big fucking deal. I'd also like to caution people, especially if, I don't know how many younger listeners we really have, but, like, please remember there's an entire content ecosystem designed to make you mad, perpetrated by people who don't give a shit about this game, who don't give a shit about the lore,
Right.
that are literally there because they know people are going to get mad, and they can prey on that anger, and they can prey on your hurt and your loneliness and make a quick buck off you, right? Like, I've seen several people who don't even really play, who admit, like, well, I don't really know this IP that well, but here's why this is a huge fucking slap to the face. I'm like, then you don't know shit. Why would anyone listen to you? Or someone else said, well, the Custodes are basically the super extra awesome Space Marines, and it's like, shut the fuck up. You have no concept of what a Custode is.
right.
Right? Like, this is just, again, I think people, if you are upset, you need to take a deep breath and really contemplate how this has any impact on your life whatsoever. And, again, therapy, very helpful. And lastly, like, remember there is a whole, like, there literally is an ecosystem online designed to make money off of your anger by stoking it in unhealthy ways, right? Like, so don't give in to that. Because, again,
I don't know why you got to call out John like that.
I know, right? And John's part of it too, right? Like, John would be great at that job, actually. But like, it's just a thing of, like, it's a game, and we again, it's 31 years for me in this hobby, right? Like, I started with the second edition box set. Like, I love this hobby. This is one of the defining parts of my life, right? Like, I spend a good chunk of my disposable income on this. I like talking about it. I like playing it. My life is made less when I don't get to play it as much as I want to, right? Like, I love this hobby. I'm not mad. The same way I was not mad when Tau magically fucking appeared, or when Necrons went from space Terminators to were enslaved by ancient star gods to, fuck that, no, we enslaved our ancient star gods and have personalities, right? Like,
Yeah.
the lore's going to change, and if including women in a faction bothers you that much, again, seek help. It doesn't really matter. And if you're happy about it, great. Have fun. It's what the hobby's for. It's having fun. Playing games. Connecting with people. It's not a fucking culture war.
No. And if anyone that's played, especially 8th edition, knows that GW has done bigger retcons.
Oh, God, yeah.
If you remember 8th edition, there was the original, was it Dark Imperium series?
Mm-hmm.
It was the book series they put out right after 8th edition launched.
Oh, right, yeah.
Gilliman and the Indomitus Crusade. I forget what it was called. It wasn't the Dawn of War series. Or Dawn of Fire, whatever it's called.
Isn't it Dawn of Fire?
Is it? Because what they ended up doing is they ended up retconning, I think in 9th edition, they ended up retconning that 8th edition storyline. And because they advanced the storyline 100 years. And then 9th edition, they kind of went back 100 years and just retconned all that. Yeah. To the point where they even rewrote the books that were written, those initial books written for 8th edition. They republished them with new content and retconned content to make it in line more with the 9th edition stuff.
Right.
So they've done worse, in my opinion. But
I mean, remember when Chaos won their crusade and then they said no?
Oh my God! Yes.
Right, like
yes. And what's funny is people don't remember that because I just saw an article about like the biggest retcon GW did, and one of them they mentioned they mentioned Abaddon and the 13 Black Crusades in regards to him losing, but they mentioned that the Eye of Terror campaign, and they mentioned that the Imperium won that one. Which tells me that they weren't there for that.
Yeah.
And I was there when Horus slew the Emperor.
Exactly.
and we fucking won.
We did. We goddamn did.
And I'm still bitter about that.
We won.
That's a proper angry at the retcon.
Yeah, seriously. Because at least that involved people, right? That involved people playing games. That like actually involved like, when people talk about this is my hobby, this is my, it's like that's something people actually contributed to. Just sitting at home, it's not the same thing. And again, it's just, it really bums me out, honestly, of just how quickly people just resort to their basest instincts and kind of internet culture of like, oh, okay, well, these people who make me mad are making me mad right now, so I have to be even more mad. I'm like, bro, play the fucking game, because I'm tired of, and this is on the other side of people being like, well, I want X, Y, and Z, and I want, these changes, and changes one way or the other. My first comment is always, let me see your fucking models. Because the loudest voices are people who don't have any. This is just what they do to make money online. This is just their job, is to get people angry and get them to click on their site and watch their videos and maybe buy their stupid fucking t-shirts. Right? Like,
hey, wait.
Yeah, buy TFG radio t-shirts. I can't be the only person on earth who wears them. Yeah. I know mine are all collector's editions. But yeah, like, GW has always retconned stuff. They have always changed things.
Oh, yeah. They have no problem doing that.
Yeah, and it's fine, because that's honestly part of what makes this game so long-lasting, is that you can create whatever story you want about what you've made, and technically it works. Right? That's always been their motto, and that's, again, why they've been successful for more than 30 years. Is because they gave people a sandbox to play in and did not dictate to them, these are the things you have to do. Right?
Right. It's not as it's more of a setting as opposed to a story.
Right, and that's always been their position.
Like Star Wars and Star Trek are basically stories.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to follow certain rules with their characters and with even with the organizations themselves. With Games Workshop and 40K, it's more of a setting, and you can change the organization however you want, to be honest, and create even new ones. Like when they created the, again, I go to that original when Gulliman came back, those books, the original, like, there's a department that monitors time and controls how the time is done. And there was nothing like that before. That's something they added in to explain the 100 years that went by when Gulliman says they don't even know what the right date is, which allowed them to go past the midnight hour. Because for those that remember, pre-8th edition, everything was 5 minutes from midnight, going from the 44th millennium to the 42nd millennium.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things of like,
I mean, even that with
you can make changes you want.
even with that of Gilliman returning, Gilliman coming back, like
the Primarchs returning.
Yeah, like that.
There are people that hate that.
Yeah, but I mean the shitstorm.
I talked to plenty of people that don't like it. Don't like the Primarchs coming back.
I mean that was
at all, whether it's demon or loyal.
I mean, but that was the thing in 8th, right? People were super upset that like the story was actually starting to progress, right? Like people were all up in
during
arms
Fall
about that.
Acadia. Yeah, especially when Gilliman came back.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, guys, get over it.
There were people that were not happy about that. So.
If you know what, if you play Custodes, you have a right to be mad because the book sucks, and they keep screwing Custodes this edition. That's why you have a right to be mad.
Mad for the real reason.
Seriously, you don't have any devastating wound protection. What the fuck, right? Like you know, again.
Well. I mean, you only have to suffer for about 6 months, then GW will make that change in the next meta watch. But they're going to let it breathe, like what they did with Necrons and Mechanicus, is because they didn't touch them at the last balanced data slate.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and the reasoning was that there was new books, so they didn't want to change it too much. They want to see how everything else settles over time.
Yeah.
So,
and to be fair,
to be fair
to Custode player too, I do think probably, I don't know how super successful of a build it'll be, but I do think it's fun, is the Orc Champions, of having a lot of little, playing Hero Hammer, having a lot of badass heroes that are running around just doing damage.
Bring back Hero Hammer.
I think that's fun. That's probably how I'd build Custodes, just to have fun, and
Okay.
And again, they also, no one I've seen has really poured over the Forge World stuff. And they have a lot of Forge Worlds, so there could be some gems in there.
Well, I'm curious if they're even going to bother updating the rules, the Forge World rules, because if they do,
they don't.
You can't see Danny shaking his head.
They won't. They always say that. They never do.
Well, so far, I don't think they updated any of the Space Marine ones.
Besides legending stuff, no.
And I think everything else, because Space Marines are the only other faction currently that has a large Forge World contingent that's still viable, or you can still use in match play. Them, Custodes, Knights. I can't think of what else off the top of my head right now, but those are the 3 that come up, and Chaos Knights. Those are the 3 that pop in my head when I think about that. So
yeah, that's about it.
So maybe they'll lower the points on them. Who knows?
A guard
people can use them,
but no, guard doesn't get to use a lot of their Forge World stuff.
No, they get to use a lot of their tanks.
Okay,
like
the
a
tanks
lot
are
of
still
the
good.
Marcarius tanks, the Malcador tanks you can still use.
Okay, so yeah,
I think those are really the only ones. But those tanks kind of suck compared and are overpriced compared to like the Lehman Russ and the current equivalent tanks. So
yeah.
So
speaking of the Rogel Dorn, the Rogel Dorn was always there.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So they come up with these new models, and they're always there. So I mean and people have brought that up, when other people complain, but everyone picks their battles. But whatever, okay. Well, we talked about that longer than I planned to, but that's fine. Also, it's not huge news. It's news to me only because I've been to and I hope to go. Is Adepticon are changing locations. They're normally in Schaumburg, which is a suburb of Chicago. Now they're moving to a larger space in Milwaukee. So, and they moved the date back to the end of March instead of being around the second or third week of March, which is a big deal for me. I may be able to go to Armo next year and still go to Adepticon.
Oh, look at you.
So fingers crossed.
Milwaukee. I mean, I can't help it, man. I can't help it.
My God.
Just burned into it's Algonquin for the good land. Just burned into my brain. I could see that's something I feel like maybe someone could have legitimate beef with. Like, Chicago's a pretty major city, right? Adepticon's been there for so long. people really get used to it. So I could see like, oh, come some hurt feelings of like, wow, this, suddenly this thing I used to do every year maybe now is harder to do because I have to travel, right? Like it's not just I'm
Right. It's
popping
not something you
down.
just go home at the end of the day or
Right.
something. You have to actually like get up. It as someone that travels a lot and appreciates BAO and SoCal Open and LVO, the difference between like driving someplace and flying is,
It's huge.
I mean, I'm not going to say astronomical, but it is a big difference.
I mean, especially I think, the reality too is when you factor in like Adepticon has always been famous for its team tournament and the team displays and things like that. Moving to
Yeah.
a smaller city, granted a larger space, but a smaller city, which means more people have to fly. It makes it harder to do that for some people because it's really hard to fly with a big ass display board. Right? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to fly with really big impressive centerpiece models that you want to use purely for the the team competition and things like that. So I mean, I understand it, but also bigger space is good. It gives people more room. It has more events.
Yeah.
You just can do more. And if you've never been,
So,
Milwaukee's a cool town. It's a hell of a
so one
drinking
of the
town.
things I one of the things I was disappointed about, and it's not their fault to be honest, it's just that they grew too big, was that they had, for those that don't know, I play historical games also, is they had the historicals section in a different building.
Right.
So I couldn't go during like in between rounds or on the day I wasn't judging. I couldn't just go to the other room and look at all the historical games or
Right.
talk to those companies. It was a completely different building further away, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna do all that just to. So all of it being in one location, because I think it's a convention center
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a hotel. Which is what I would enjoy more, and I think a lot of more people would too, because that's been a big comment about Adepticon in regards to for those that play historical games, and because the dealer room was in a different building than where the historical games were.
Right.
So if you wanted to buy stuff from a manufacturer, they were in a different building.
So all I'm
So
hearing
like
is
Warlord.
I,
So like Warlord, which is basically the historical GW equivalent, was in a different building than where their games were where their tournaments were
that's
at the
weird.
event at the location. So
So you're saying, so you heard it here first, folks. Adam Solis breaks the news that Adepticon folded to Big Historical. Bowed to pressure from Big Historical.
yes, well, they do have Bolt Action third edition coming out in September. Apparently, they just made the announcement a week ago. So just FYI. That's your historical news. I mean, there's more historical news I can go into, but we're not that type of podcast. So I'll leave it at that.
I can just mute
Before,
myself, go
people's
get a
eyes roll in the
cigarette.
back of
You
their
can
head.
go do your
They-
thing. Maybe
I know
boot up
John
Helldivers.
John and yeah. So we'll see when RMO is next year. I know it hasn't been planned out, but if it's around the same weekend, then I should be able to go to both. So fingers crossed. In addition, we do have BAO coming up, and for those that don't know, we did put out the player packet, which included a new terrain packet. And there's a separate terrain packet because Frontline is now doing fixed terrain. If you watched this past Signals from the Frontline, they actually go in depth into the terrain and look at a couple of the samples. I did not help develop it because I didn't want to do it.
The
A lot of
correct
work.
Yeah, it's a ton of work.
But it's a separate packet. It is on the website for the same place where you find the player packet, and the link should also be in the player packet. The terrain packet is about 14 pages because it includes, I believe it's the three sets: the Urban Decay, I forget what it's actually called, but everyone calls it the Sisters of Battle terrain,
Right.
and Karst Outpost, which is basically the GW terrain. So for BAO, we're using those three, and I believe we're using layouts layout 1 on day 1 for the GW train, and layout 4 for day 2 for the GW train. So if you want to know what terrain we're using or what layouts we're using, because I know a lot of people want to know, just those are the 2 we're using. You can also check the player packet. It should say on there too. Also, a reminder for BAO is we'll be more strict on the paint requirement. So make sure your stuff is actually painted. Otherwise, at the very minimum, you won't get the 10 points for being fully painted. So that's a big thing we have leading into BAO. Like I said earlier, the Ork and Custodes codexes are probably 99% sure they're going to be okay for BAO. The Tau codex is not allowed, only because it was only released in the special box with the Crute, and we don't know when it's going to go into general release.
So that's actually a good thing. Yay, Tau, you get to play.
Maybe. It depends what your opinion of the Tau codex is.
It's bad. It's real
For
bad.
most people, it's not good. I know that much. One other thing in regards to between the Tau, we discussed the Tau. I think the last episode with Tom, we discussed the Ork and Custodes codexes and excuse me. And what we've noticed, and it came up in our team chat. Someone brought it up where it seems like when they release 2 codexes together, that there seems to be one pretty good one and one. I'll use the word tepid again. Lukewarm. Which ponders a lot of theories in regards to are there 2 teams working on it, and one is like, hey, let's make this codex good, and the other one's like, hey, let's make this codex okay. Or is it just back and forth where maybe it's the same team has produced some of them that are good and some of them that are not so good? And it just happens to be back and forth between the 2 teams?
I mean...
Or is it favorites?
I feel like it's whatever their internal playtesting is. Whatever one was doing the best gets nerfed with no thought. And the one that didn't do the best gets buffed with no thought. And then they just release it, thinking well, we got it in 1, guys. Good job.
Got it in 1.
Right, so.
Oh my god. Because so far we had what was it? So Orks and Custodes, Ork strong, Custodes weak. Necrons Mechanicus, Necron strong, Mechanicus weak. It was what, Marine and Tyranids?
Marine and Tyranids, yeah. Marines weak.
Were they both weak?
No, Tyranids.
But are Tyranids strong?
Tyranids have actually are one of the higher win rate codexes.
Higher win percentage?
Yeah.
I think those 2 might be the most, probably closest to being even.
Yeah. I mean, they're both super...
some weeks... What?
I was going to say, both are super popular factions, so I think you get you get a better insight into how strong they are, because, the reality is there's a lot more Tyranid players than Mechanicus players. So,
right.
There's going to be a lot of bad Tyranid players who pull the average down, right? It just is what it is. This is the Jeff Robinson
we've discussed
theory.
That before.
This is the Jeff Robinson theory.
Oh, that's right. That's the Jeff Robinson theory.
Yeah, that again, super popular armies are always going to look worse because lots of bad players, or just newer players, less experienced players, play them, and that brings the average down. That doesn't mean they're inherently bad. So I think the fact that Tyranids, which are such an insanely popular faction, actually have a really strong win rate, demonstrates that it's actually a pretty strong book.
Okay, right. So which brings us to the question: Tau, and Tau weak. So the opinion so far is Tau weak.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'm doubling up my fingers crossed, that Chaos Space Marine is the next book. Which would mean CSM strong.
Yeah, let's hope. You mean you're not going to go Emperor's Children Index? That's what we're all looking forward to.
No, it's going to be the same. That's what I was just going to say. We were teased that the Emperor Children will be getting their own index when the Chaos Space Marine book comes out. It's something everybody was expecting more or less, because Emperor's Children and Slaanesh is the last Chaos God to get their own book.
Yep.
Since we already have, Tzeentch, Khorne,
Nurgle,
and Nurgle, so we're just missing Slaanesh. Once we get that, then which means it's another army I have to collect.
Yep.
Because I have two. I have Death Guard. I have 1,000 Suns. I have World Leaders.
Do you?
They're still in the box.
Yeah. I mean, that's technically you have them. That's true.
I have them, but there's no need for me to play the army, so there's no need for me to build the army.
It's fair.
Currently.
It's fair.
And then all that's left is Emperor's Children. At the very least, I have all the Primarchs, the Demon Primarchs, built and painted. So
it's pretty good.
None of them painted by me, which is probably a good thing, because no,
I'll have to get a Fulgrim and convert it, and another Bloodthirster kit, and convert it into a.
God. Oh, then you have all four.
Then I have all four.
That's hilarious.
Just all cornified.
There's a nice symmetry to that.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. So, fingers crossed. But knowing my luck, they'll probably sneak in like the fucking Eldar Codex. Hey, surprise! Eldar Codex is next.
Or Imperial Agents jumps you, and Imperial Agents is great.
Oh my god! So, or Sisters of Battle, because Sisters of Battle is the next one. But apparently, according to the roadmap, Sisters of Battle is after Chaos Space Marine.
We shall see. I would like Chaos.
So if that's true, then Sisters of Battle, it would be Sisters of Battle and Imperial Agents. So we'll have to see which one's the weak one. Probably be Imperial Agents out of those two. So I'm looking forward to that. We already know that there'll be, I believe they said 8 detachments. Was it 8 for CSM?
6 or 8.
I know it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Because, Orcs got, 5 or 6? And then Custodes only got, 4 or 5.
Yeah. I think it's going to be 6 to 8. I'm trying to remember.
8.
Yeah,
almost on the same level. I think it's the same level as the Space Marine Codex,
right,
which got a lot, which has 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm debating building another Chaos Space Marine army. Oh I think eventually I'm going to have all 9 legions. Yeah. I'm just saying. Because I already have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. I already have 4 with Black Legion and then the Cults. So I'm already halfway there. Iron Warriors might be the easiest.
Yeah.
So I may just do that one next. But, and then if I do Emperor Children, that's 5. And the Night Lord box just came out.
You could do Space Batman.
Then I have to do Lightning Bolts.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to do, Then I have to do Lightning Bolts. So we'll see what happens. I'm nervous. Optimistic. I'm optimistic, but I'm nervous about it because you never know. Probably the last item on the docket is we don't normally talk about Age of Sigmar.
Woo!
Danny does because
Yes.
Danny plays.
I do.
And Danny's the only one that showed up.
Ha.
So Danny gets to talk about Age of Sigmar. They've been actually I've been watching on YouTube a lot of the videos about the new stuff and the rules for Age of Sigmar. A lot of it seems similar to 40K. So it makes an easy transition if you're looking to play Age of Sigmar.
It is the most.
But Danny, your thoughts on a lot of the rules they've showed so far? The army, how to build the army and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it looks promising. It's very much so. Usually, the kind of dirty secret over the last 6 years is that Age of Sigmar is the testing ground for a lot of new stuff into 40K. Right? They test new mechanics. They test what they're kind of thinking of doing in Age of Sigmar, and then kind of refine it and put it into 40K. So this is how morale ended up, and the new data sheets, and how those are kind of put in. blah blah blah. But now I think we're seeing kind of the inverse where AOS is being more heavily influenced by 40K when it comes to like list design, um, having it centered around essentially characters, and then they bring their little retinue. I think the biggest thing is they got rid of morale entirely. There's no morale stat at all in Age of Sigmar.
What?
Yeah, there's no morale. There's just there's just basically objective control, OC.
That's weird.
Yeah, and if you fall back, you just take D3 mortal wounds.
Huh.
Yeah, so like there's I think the big thing is Age of Sigmar had melee ranges, and those are really important because you had melee ranges from 1 inch to 3 inches. So there's plenty of situations where a unit with a melee range of 3 inches could basically swing on something and not be retaliated against, right? Because like the other enemy couldn't hit them. They've completely removed that, so now it's just your melee range is 3 inches, but you have half an inch coherency in combat. So you can't string out, and coherency is like 40k of if you have more than 6 models, you have to be close to, coherency requires 2 other models, not one. So like you can't daisy chain the same way to like be able to like, cool, I can attack everything on the goddamn board. They went back to
Right.
They actually went with the charging rules back to 9th edition, where a model, a unit can fight if it's in combat, meaning it's in melee range of something else, or if it charged. So they actually added that in from 9th, which I actually really liked. I don't like that part of 10th of you charge. It doesn't mean you get to fight if something else kills your target out of range or whatever. So
Right.
it's a lot of streamlining. It really will depend on points and things of that nature. But you can't shoot into combat anymore. You used to be able
I
to
remember that
shoot.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it made units that were good at shooting and good at fighting, like what is it, Rat Ogres, really good, or Storm Fiends. It made them really good.
Storm Fiends. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
because they could fight decently, but also shoot like hell, so they were just always a problem. So I love the changes are good. The list building I really like because it's really creative in the sense of there's no more like these are your troops, these are your heavy supports, or the AOS equivalent. It's just you can kind of bring, you have to bring a character and a certain number of, total number of units you can with that character, and that's it. They count as one drop in AOS. Whoever has the least drops determines who goes first or second. So obviously having only one drop is really powerful. If you're trying to min-max and you don't want to bring a character, to get a couple more units, you can take units as auxiliaries, but they add their solo drops, so all of a sudden your drop rate goes skyrocketing. But it's, if you want to do if you want to do a skew list or a really fun list of, all Doom Wheels and Skaven, or, all Steam Tanks, you can do it. It gives you that creativity, which I think is really cool. So I'm really excited to play. I think I'll actually, when and it'll probably drop in June or July. Usually drops the start of the new fiscal year, so July, right? That's because GW always likes to put their new big releases in July because that spikes the numbers for the next fiscal year.
Yeah, I remember the original Age of Sigmar came out like the weekend of BAO, and that was like the first weekend of July.
Yeah, I remember I was up in Oregon bought a box up there. But I'm excited. I think I'm actually going to, because my son has a bunch of them, probably lean into Stormcast when it drops and try and get some good reps, because I really like Stormcast. I like their new models. I like their characters. Talk about Hero Hammer. They can do a lot of fun shit. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I was really bummed I was supposed to go up to Canada to play this this past weekend.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't because of life shit. So hoping in September, which will be the new edition, that'll be 4th edition, be able to go up to Dayton's other event that usually happens in September.
Okay.
But we'll see, because that also depends on if I can pull that off with kids and things like that, because we also have the team tournament.
Oh, that.
So yeah, traveling twice in 1 month might be a little tough.
Yeah.
Might be, but I'm excited for AOS. I think it's a fun game. It's a very different game than 40K, especially because of the double turn.
Mm-hmm.
Although they changed the double turn a bit. You basically don't get to score secondaries if you double turn somebody now. So they made the change of,
Okay.
so the way AOS works is you have the primary mission and then you have battle tactics, which are basically old school FLG, pick your thing you have to do this turn to score your secondary points, right?
Oh.
And they
And
are
if you double turn, you can't do that.
now they're saying, yeah, if you choose to take a double turn, if you've gone first, that you don't get you don't get to choose a battle tactic. So you have the advantage of like, cool, I get 2 activations and really get to pour it on. But if you talk to high level Age of Sigmar players, winning games usually comes down to battle tactics. Getting a list is only really competitive if it minimum has to be able to get 4 out of 5 every game, but really it should get 5 out of 5. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's a nice wrinkle.
Well, that also depends how the scoring works, because I know they reduced the size of to control the objective to 40K, where it's only 3 inches instead of 6.
Yeah,
so
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I actually always liked AOS's missions, their deployments, because like it's so radically different. It's not the same, thing every time of like, hey, are we diagonal? Are we, Dawn of War? Are we Hammer and Anvil?
Oh, right.
Right. They have a lot, and it's weird. It takes time to get used to, but I really do like the weird checkerboard deployments and things like that. It makes the game more enjoyable.
Okay.
So I'm excited.
I still won't play it, but
I know you won't. I got Tom to play once. That was pretty good.
Tom enjoyed it, but we'll have to see. He may try 4th.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will.
We'll see where I'm at.
Unless 10th really picks up. If the Chaos Codec is bad.
Yeah, if the Chaos Codec is bad, I'll have to play Age of Sigmar. No, just in terms of like other stuff, being between stuff with FLG and the other things going on and all that bullshit. It just depends. I'll have to find time. I'll have to squeeze it into all the other stuff I keep adding to stuff I want to do or plan to do or hope to do, more importantly. But so that's Danny's AOS take so far, because we haven't seen. They're still showing us a bunch of stuff. They showed a bunch of some of the Skaven models.
Skaven look good.
So hopefully they'll show more. Yeah, hopefully they'll show more of the like the Doom Wheel and the Bell, the Screaming Bell, and all that, all the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
Because right now they just showed like the basic clan rap,
which is still cool.
Nothing too. Yeah, but it's always the wacky stuff that people like.
Well,
about
of course.
That army.
Yeah, well, it's the way you play Skaven.
We'll see what reimagining they have for that, for a lot of that stuff. So I'm curious to see what that is. But for me, I mean, anything else you're working on, Danny? Besides, I know you played a test game with Tom the other day.
Yeah, I was testing out actually my the Champions Cup list. Yeah, as a defender list, and I liked it. I won that game. Managed to just again score enough on primary, max my secondaries, and keep Tom to a couple turns where he's only scoring 5 points on primary. So, that's really what it's designed to do. Even if I somehow lost that game, I've only probably would have lost by most 10 points. And, so that's what I want.
At worst.
Yeah, so in the kind of WTC style, that WTC style scoring, I think the list is a good defender list. So I'll probably do some tweaks. I need to get more games, and then really just work on. I mean, I don't need to paint that much for it. I just have to paint the Von Ryan Leapers, and it's fully painted.
We're probably going to have to start as we get closer. We'll probably have to start scheduling like a Saturday or something for all of us to like try to get together to just play games during the day and just
talk matchups.
Things like that. So we'll see how it goes. We're still, like I said, currently I'm on Death Guard, so I'm in the process of getting the models that I need. I think I still need some Predators. I think I just need Predators.
Nice, that's nice.
Oh no, I need one more PVC.
Okay.
Plagueburst. I need one more Plagueburst Growth. But that's just a matter of money, not necessarily finding the models.
Right.
So hopefully hopefully by BAO I'll have the models. That way it's only a couple months.
Right.
And then I'll have all that ready. So but I think that's it for today. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, and I cut back to us, my new office is still in the remodeling stage. I got most of it. I got a lot of it put away, but there's still a lot of it I still need to put away. So it's probably about 60% there.
I like the
big question:
Legionnaire helmet on top of the luchador mask next to the McQueedle.
Yes.
That's special.
I have to figure out what to put on the walls. I think that's the biggest thing. So, because I have a bunch of pictures, a bunch of 40K posters, and other BattleTech posters, things like that. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll be more work done behind me as each episode moves along. So, but I think that's it. Danny, you have anything else?
Play games, be nice to each other. That's simple.
Okay, I think that's it for me. And for Danny, I think we still took an hour, more or less, just about. Next episode will be, I think, around my birthday. In 2 weeks, yeah.
Yep.
So, which I don't celebrate, but my wife celebrates because her birthday is 2 days before mine, which means I have to celebrate mine.
Yeah.
So,
which is like a day after mine or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, hers is on the 29th.
Yeah, mine's the 28th.
On May 1st. But she likes to celebrate. I don't. So, like, we're going to dinner. Well, also our anniversary is technically today and tomorrow. We have 2 dates for our anniversary. So we're celebrating that. We're going out to dinner, and she made a point to tell them that it's our birthday / anniversary. I'm like, don't tell them.
No.
I don't want a big deal about it. So
No.
Someone's going to sing to me at the restaurant.
Yep.
So
maybe put a little hat on you.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it, that's for sure. But, yeah. So, once again, thanks everybody for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. One other programming note. For those that have listened to Pod Save the Imperium, they would note that we haven't put out an episode in almost a year.
We should just find time.
So what I'm doing is I'll be migrating the podcast portion to the YouTube portion. So if you had never listened to it, be sure to give it a listen. If you have listened to it, just listen to it again, please. Or just put it on in the background. Yeah. So they're usually only like a half hour long, so it's not too bad. And then I'll try to twist John's arm to get us to do maybe 1 or 2 more.
Especially with the end of the death being out,
those.
We should have something to talk about. I'm just saying. It's like, Jesus.
I mean, the format's different than the normal lore videos or lore shows, so it's trying to put that in our format. So, but yes, End of Death does bring up a lot of questions that we could talk about, we could debate. So those should be up soon. And next week should be probably the first episode, one of the first ones we did. So I'm going to do them in order that we released them on the podcast. And we should go from there. So that should last us a little while. Give us some room to record something. Hopefully. We'll see. I've been saying that for the last year. So we don't know. But everyone, please like and subscribe to make sure when the news come up, it shows up on your feed. See everybody in a couple weeks. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Laters.